So just in this final video, we're going to cover some safety considerations with the robot. But just before we do this, I want to highlight a little mistake I made. So we had a couple issues with this if statement with the pop-up when basically the pallet is finished. So I just had my numbers the wrong way around, really. What you need to, I suppose, notice that I wasn't picking up on was that when we're doing our count, so let's say we're counting up our black pieces in this pallet, once the program goes into this position here, it will start at 1 and it will go up to, because for this pallet there's I think, what did I set it at, 12, yeah, there's 12 maximum places. It'll only go up to number 11, and then when it goes to do the 12th position, it sets the variable back to 0 automatically. So what I've done is actually it'll never get to 12. We were waiting for it to get to 12 and then check it. It'll never get to 12. So what we do is we say when it equals 0, pop the pop-up, because that's when we know it'll be finished its last point. So it's a wee bit of kind of reverse thinking. So it won't, even when we start, because it's at 0 now, it won't cause issues, because as soon as it only checks this condition down here after it's done the pallet. So when it gets to the first approach point, it will be at number 1. So this starting at 0 won't cause any issues. And then when we get to, okay, so if there's 12 boxes to do, when it gets to number 11 and it comes into this approach point, it actually goes to 0, which will be its 12th one placed down. And then when it comes away, so when it goes away from that pallet, so when it exits it, then it will check for 0 and it will do the pop-up, and then it will just continue on from 0 and then go into 1. So there was just a couple of issues there with that that count and that pop-up, which I didn't do correctly. Now, if you need to display this information to the user, you would need to use a different variable and set the variable at 0, then set it at 0 within this if statement, and increase it yourself by 1 whenever you want to do it, at whatever point you want to do it, so maybe after the pallet, and that will give you, a better, it'll get to 8, or you can set it then that way that it will kind of work the way we were thinking that before. But just if you want to use the variable that could set up with the palletizing automatically that comes in with this function, this is the way you're going to have to do it. So the last thing is just to think about some safety configurations for the robot. Okay, now what we need to think about firstly is, right, we've got a big footprint here about where this robot is moving around. It's moving each side. There's a machine over here that's going to be doing some drilling or pressing, and then we've got some pallets here that the user is picking up, probably from this side, and we've got a bit of free space in here. So I'm going to kind of assume, right, we've got additional machinery and stuff over here, so this is going to be cordoned off, and there's going to be no new users in there, because that's why we have the robot and the CNC machine working away together. But what we're going to do here is there's this free space over here, so I'm going to put in a safety scanner that scans this area to the left, and if someone comes in and gets too close, it's going to bring the robot into reduced mode. Okay, so you can have a play around with some safety boundaries or other scanners if you want, emergency stop buttons, that's no problem. Maybe you can give some consideration to them picking up the pallets on this side, but I think this is probably the most vulnerable area where people could walk in, where the robot is actually swinging around, and it's doing that move J command as well, which is a little bit unpredictable and very fast as well. At least with the linear commands, it's exactly moving up and down that way, but with the move J, it doesn't go in a linear motion, so there could be potential for some danger here. So to do that, we need to go into our installation tab, okay, and we need to look at our safety configurations. Right now, I need to check what the password is. Is it EasyBot or admin password? Let me just check out what the password is first. Okay, so if you're using your simulator, I thought they might actually provide a password, but you can set up yourself. So all you got to do is just come out of the program, go into setup robot, go into set password, and then you can set a password for your program and basically click apply. So it doesn't have a current password at the moment, so I've set up one. So I can go back into program my robot, load my program that I've been working on. Okay, we'll go back into installation, back into safety, and you see I'll be able to unlock this now by putting in my password. Then that gives me access to the screen. So you can play around with boundaries, maybe speeding up and reducing up your speeds in some of your modes. I'm just going to keep it fairly straightforward, and we're going to use basically a reduce mode on one of our hang on there 1 second. So depending on where you want your safety scanner to be connected in, we're just going to say it's connected in on configure 2 and 3, and what it's going to do is going to put us in reduced mode. So if we click apply, it'll apply it to the robot. We can confirm that, and basically what we're trying to say here is that there's a safety scanner kind of mounted onto the robot down here, and it's scanning this side to the left, and if someone does come in, it's going to pop it into reduced mode. Okay, so you'll see we've got an additional input put in here. If we want to go ahead and play, I'll see what sort of simulation we can get from this, and we'll see how well the UR simulator simulates this. Go ahead and press play, so we can trigger some of our, oh yeah, we need to put it into simulation mode. Stop that, let's put it into sim mode, press play, leave them sensors on. So what you'll see is the robot will go ahead. Now I have it working in the other side, so I might just bring it around to this side. Not need that on, so we'll wait for it to, oh yeah, sorry, I'll need it there just while it finishes that side. You'll see the variable, see the way it gets it, it puts it to 1 as soon as it goes there, and it actually never gets to 8, so that was where one of our issues were happening. But anyway, as we swing it back across here, it's going to be picking things up. So you'll see the speed that it's working at. If I click on this, let's see, does it simulate it any better? Not too much of a difference there. I thought it might have shown the speed go down when we turn on this input, but that's okay. I'm not too sure about the simulation for that, but really it's just once you have a consideration of adding in that additional I/O or that additional safety boundary, you can go ahead and work with that. Okay, so it's just in there in the safety configurations. If you do want to add in a boundary, you can look at setting up a feature for a particular boundary that can put the robot into, you know, reduced mode. It can put it into you know, full stop mode, protective stop mode, whatever it is, or you can look at adjusting some of these basically these restrictions on its power, its speed, momentum, things like that. It's just to give a bit of consideration. Doesn't seem to be too much you can do in terms of the simulation of it. It doesn't seem to have too much of an effect on the robot, but it's just that you've put it into your program and that you've basically considered some of those things, and that should wrap us up in terms of this system. So a full working system. We'll probably not wait until it gets around to well, we'll see how far we get with it. This is the pack 12 of them, but you'll see its ability to deal with different sensors, different I/O, different safety configurations, dealing with a different machine over here, packing in 2 different locations, packing different amounts, so different size of pallets, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of good stuff that you can simulate here within the UR simulator, so it's a really good alternative if you don't have the hardware there available for you. It's a good way you could save this onto, you know, if you did have, I wonder, is there a way of saving this onto USB, then you could transfer it into your robot and then fine tune just the points, but at least you've all the major setup done. You know, there could be ways around it in terms of doing that. So I might just pause the video while we wait just to see this last variable come true. So just seeing the remainder of it, again watching this variable and see when it comes in to hit basically this point here, the approach point, it will change to 10. So just have a look at that, see the way it changes to 10 there, and then it takes the part away. So it nearly counts before it actually the part has been removed. So that's what was kind of causing us issues about where we're checking this variable. So what will happen again is it'll come into approach point 1, it'll go to number 11, and then when it comes back around to do the last one, it goes back to 0, so it never actually reaches 12. So that was an issue when we were saying, well, you know, if the count equals 12, well, it never actually reached 12. So that was the issue, because now when it comes back around, it actually goes to 0, it doesn't go to 12. So that's why I say now, okay, well, if the count equals 0, pop it up. So we should see that happening now. So it's gone to 0. I'm not going to interrupt it because I still want the robot to lift up. Now we've got the pop up and the robot is out of, so we can say, right, we've removed the pallet. So if someone goes in, removes the pallet, puts in a new one, we can go continue. So the robot was up here, you know, was away, so we're able to take the pallet out. If we had have kind of done anything in between there, it could cause us an issues with getting the robot out of the way. And you see the way it's at 0, and then it goes to 1, so it doesn't cause us a problem with that initial, with the kind of initial value being at 0, because it's not checking it until way down here. So again, I was kind of, you know, really rushed through a little bit of a bad overview of it, but it does show you a couple of things that you can do with it. Again, you could set up your own variable and do your own count within it, but it's just if you want to use this automatic variable that gets created with the pallet function, that's how you do it. And listen, you know, you can play around yourself and see it working and test it out, but you get that kind of pop-up, allows someone to change out the pallet, and then we can start the robot working again. So that's everything. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to subscribe and like, just to keep it up to date with all these videos as they happen.